out. I mean, that the storm wasn't quite there yet, so I was glad that she was finally, because that thing got that was supposed to happen in 2020, but that whole tour got canceled
Yeah.
because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's funny that you look back at like you know, if it was back then, Bonnaroo would still go on. They wouldn't even care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, not that gear was less expensive back then, but now it's, especially with, I feel like, uh, I mean, you got the gear problem, and then also people are just a little bit more heightened right now with the whole COVID thing. Just trying to take precautions. Actually, it's pretty cool. My wife said that they had multiple rapid testing stations at Meriwether. So if you came and didn't have a vaccine card and you didn't have your COVID, like within a 72-hour code, you could go to the rapid and then go in. And they even had like two vaccine testings, not testing, but vaccine um, that I can't think of the right word right now, giving the vaccine
Mhm.
stations as well. So it seemed that Meriwether was doing a lot to like, hey, we don't want you to miss the show, and let's provide services so you can see. That was, I thought that was pretty cool and encouraging.
There was a
Yeah.
couple of shows. There was like this punk show that was saying, if you're vaccinated, you can provide your vaccination card. The show's like $10. And these guys have like a big cult following, so everybody wanted to really see these guys. But if you were not vaccinated, tickets were like $1,000, and they were trying to really push, you know, vaccinations.
Hmm.
I don't think anybody paid $1,000 to see these guys. I think,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
that was just like their general attempt.
$1,000 to see them or go get a free vaccine.
Go get a free vaccine and come back and spend $10. I
Right.
mean, listen, hey, it probably then there's that psychology. It probably did work.
Yeah, might have,
So
depending on how hardcore of a fan you were for that band.
and I haven't heard the bands. I'm not much of a metal head or a punk head, so. But speaking of Woodstock, there's a series on HBO, The Music Box. It's a series of feature length documentaries. So the first one was Woodstock '99,
Hmm.
where like they tore the place down, and it was like just mass hysteria and chaos and destruction and fights and inappropriate behavior towards women, to say the least. I mean, because guys were grabbing the girls' body parts while they were crowd surfing, and
Hmm.
um, so I mean, like Woodstock '94 still had cranberries and modern rock, and it was kind of close to what
The
Woodstock
original was.
Woodstock '69 was, and then Woodstock '99's lineup was Limp Bizkit, Korn, Slipknot, fucking
Sounds
DMX, Cypress Hill, uh, yeah, and
not the same vibe.
not the same vibe at all. Like that's Lollapalooza. That's HF Festival or something. Like, what were you
Yeah.
talking about? What were we talking about, Chris?
Well, we were talking about Tibetan Freedom Concert,
Or Tibet?
1998.
Or, there you go, Tibetan Freedom Concert, which is just headlined by Rage. It's just Rage, really. Nobody else. Maybe Seven
No,
Seas.
no, no. Tibetan Freedom Concert, like their lineup was ridiculous. It had such a wide, because I went to that show in '98, and they had such a wide variety of artists. They had Dave Matthews
They had a
Band,
wide what? They had a
uh,
wide variety.
variety variety of artists. They had Dave Matthews Band, Herbie
You got to have a
Hancock, and
good
the
mic.
Headhunters.
You got to have a good mic, and you got to know how to speak in that mic on my show, boy. All right,
But
so
I
all right,
mean,
I'm busting your chops, but Dave Matthews Band.
yeah, Dave Matthews Band, Herbie Hancock and the Headhunters. They had KRS-One, Beastie Boys,
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest, like the Blues Travelers. Like the lineup was just insane, and it was 2 days, so there was like 150,000 people there.
But see, that kind of sounds like the lineup that Woodstock '99 should have had.
Yeah,
Think about that. Blues Traveler, Dave. Yeah, okay. Well, Dave Matthews was at Woodstock '99. Dave Matthews was there. Offspring was another Woodstock 99. I mean, like, you know, punk. I guess, you know, Offspring, by the time 99 came around, they were kind of like pop punk ish.
I guess the other thing about it too is that, I mean, Woodstock, the original one, the the caliber of people that went to that were different than what we have now,
Yeah.
with just society and morals. But then also what happens is that, you know, all these people that were original Woodstock, they're like, oh yeah, man, it was crazy. And they tell stories. And the funny thing is, like, some of those stories might be true. Some of those stories might be a little bit uh, indulged, or I'm losing my vocabulary. I can't think of, like, uh,
We
it
all
just
are
made,
today.
yeah, just losing my words, but just indulged and made bigger than what they actually were. And you have these generations of people after that that have heard these stories. So then they think, oh my gosh, by the time that they go to, like, let's just say Woodstock 99, they're like, well, it's a freaking free-for-all drug fest orgy. And then because they've heard these stories from previously, whether it was or wasn't, don't know, but it's just been hyped to the point where,
And that's probably only like maybe 5, 10 people were like really orgying it out back
yeah.
in 69. And probably only 5 or 10 people were really orgying it out back in 94.
Plus,
So
it
the
was a bunch of
really good,
hippies.
huh?
They're a bunch of hippies too.
Yeah.
Typically, they're were versus, you know, I don't know a
Totally
lot of
different, totally different
hippies that,
lifestyle in 69 versus
yeah,
99,
exactly.
and totally different music style, lifestyle and music style. But also, I mean, like, you're going to take the one and two extravagant, extraordinary stories and make that the idea behind
Exactly.
Woodstock 69, Woodstock 94. And now these freaking 18-year-old, these 18-year-old kids are going in there, losing their minds, getting
Yeah.
drunk. Like, there were so many people hospitalized before the first set even went on because they just went in there, got
ODs.
shit wasted,
Well,
drunk,
it's,
high.
I mean, also the caliber. Think about how, so 69, 99, 30 years. Think of the caliber of drugs that were back then,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then what we have now. I mean, weed has pretty much stayed the same, but there are different strains that are maybe a little bit more potent, but roughly because it's a natural, unless they're splicing it with something, or I should say lacing it with something, it's pretty much normal. But your coke has gotten stronger, your heroin with your fentanyl, which is synthetic, and your carfentanil is like extremely dangerous. Um, and you got your Molly, you got your E now, like all these synthetic drugs
Yeah.
that are around now, which back then they had, I think they had acid and they had weed. They
We're
also
talking
had,
about 69.
yeah,
And mushrooms.
yeah, they had mushrooms,
Shrooms,
Shrooms.
LSD, weed,
pretty much,
That's
maybe coke,
maybe coke, and maybe
maybe
maybe a little bit of heroin. But like, we're talking about like baseline stuff. We're not talking about fentanyl or carfentanil
or meth.
or meth or your Molly or your E, all these other drugs.
Yeah.
That are, you could, I mean, you could roll into a 99 and get a bad E tablet or whatever.
Weed,
And
boat. What is that? Boat? No,
oh, you mean
boat
Gator?
or Gator. Weed laced with PCP.
Yeah,
Um,
what was that thing that was, I don't know if it's called, well, there is Gator, but there was that other thing that was down in Florida for a little bit that you just start eating people's faces. Forget what it was.
Bath salts.
Yeah,
bath
bath
salts.
salts.
I
Yes,
don't
I mean,
think bath
just,
salts. I don't even think bath salts was a thing in '99.
it probably
But
wasn't, but I'm
but
just saying, like,
but still,
No.
definitely everything else we mentioned. I mean, like,
Ketamine was around
right,
was
back
special
then.
special
that was
K, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
that
were
was.
doing Special K because that blew up for a little bit.
So I mean, just think about like all that stuff that was in 99 versus 69, and no wonder you're getting, because you're getting those stories and that mentality that it's a free for all and you're going crazy and you go crazy, but it's like going crazy in 69 was you jumping off of a 30-foot cliff into a big old pool of water.
Right.
Going crazy in 99 is you jumping out of an airplane without a parachute.
Yeah.
I think they only had one confirmed death at 69. And
No, they had more.
That was because maybe it was a low number. It was a very low number.
But it was a low number.
Because I know one confirmed death. The guy was sleeping in a sleeping bag, and he was underneath of a trash truck, and the trash truck, there was so much debris, he didn't see him, and he ran him over.
Oof.
While the guy was sleeping.
Yeah.
But they didn't have. I'm sure they didn't have as many, drug overdoses as they did in '99 per se. Because just like you said, all the different drugs and stuff. The difference between 69 and 99, and then you also have the alcohol overdoses as well that you got to think of. And especially in the heat, not being properly hydrated. But one thing that happened in '69 though, they didn't prepare for all the people that came, because it ended up being like pretty much like a free concert. So they were running out of supplies,
and you mentioned
running out of water, running out of food was a major problem in 1969, because they were just unprepared for the amount of people that showed up.
And that was the thing that they did with 99, which then kind of altered the mindset of Woodstock 99. So there was this abandoned Air Force base somewhere in upstate New York. That's where they held 99 at. 94 was held on another farm, and still people were jumping fences and breaking through fences. This abandoned Air Force base already had the fence line, already had the peace wall, already had the concertina wire and the barbed wire. There was only a north gate and a south gate that they could get into. That was, if you ever been to a military installation, it was a military gate. So there was no, so the founders, I can't remember his name, but he was there in 69 and he was there in 94. They were like, this is perfect. We're not going to lose any money. But here you are, you got this huge military base. These people are trapped in, not really trapped in, but it had this mindset of, it's not peace. It's not a farm. It's not flowers. It's a goddamn Air Force base. So it's more, not really Woodstock. It's more like, metalhead stock, rap metal, bang your head, blow shit up kind of palooza, and not like Woodstock. Both 69 and 94 were on farms, open land ish, free grazing. That was the mentality of 69 and even 94, with freaking cranberries and remember the days of cranberries, that kind of modern rock, that soft. Sarah McLachlan. I mean, there was a lot of female lineups on 94's show.
Yeah, I feel like more toward the end of the 90s, was more into like that hard rock, that like Slipknot, Rage Against the Machine.
Metal came back, rap metal.
And then Rage Against the Machine went on tour with Wu-Tang Clan, which was like epic. They did that in 97.
Yeah.
I know that they did a show at Merriweather back then when they toured together, because they were talking about touring again.
Yeah.
In modern day, from when they toured in 97 to. But that was before COVID. They were talking about that, getting together and doing a Rage Wu-Tang tour again.
COVID, man. COVID.
So,
COVID. So we were talking. So Johnny, Chris, we were talking a little bit offline. Johnny, your YouTube channel, Bug Out Boys. And some of your production structure. So let's go over that. Tell me a little bit more about that again. Let's go a little bit in depth on where your show's at now, and what you were telling me a little offline made a lot of sense about how you were kind of going, hand to mouth on episodes and whatnot.
Oh yeah. So when I originally started Bug Out Boys, I was going out filming and then releasing pretty quickly the content. And I have this big calendar like right here. And I would have to, mark off when I'm going out to do an episode, when am I filming a review, or a bot or the subsequent other smaller videos that I decided to make to kind of like, because I'd only release an episode where I'd go out into the wilderness once a month, and then I had these tinier videos to kind of like keep engaging the fans. And it really was almost a hand to mouth situation where, I got to get out there. I got to film and I got to do this. I got to film this because, oh, I got a video that I need to release on this date. I got a video that I need to release on this date. And when, oddly enough, when I was a single guy, that was it was pretty easy. But if I got sick or if one of my guests that were coming on the show got sick or there was a scheduling conflict, well, then I was like, I was, put in a bind.
Yeah.
And then getting married, having a family, COVID, things like that, started putting more stress on that. So I decided, because of COVID and when they shut down a lot of the state forests and the state parks, which I thought was strange, that there's nobody out there, but I can't go in there. But another issue, another story. I decided that once things started opening up, I would then go out and film more content, but I would save it. And I'm trying to build up basically a full season of episodes and reviews and bots and tutorials and things like that. That way, I'm not sure if I'll have enough for let's see here, for 2022, but the idea that I'll have a buffer.
Right.
So if I do get sick, or if there's some sort of emergency, like my cat getting sick, which is happening now, I'm not pressured as much to get those out. And I know, and it's funny because I know that TV shows, movies, other shows do this. I mean, they have a huge backlog usually of episodes and such, so they have that buffer. And I think I have 4, maybe 5 seasons of Bug Out Boys. So I did that for like 3-4 years before I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take a wee break. And so far, like I said earlier, the fans have been pretty accepting of it. They do want content. I have lost some subscribers, not that many, but they're understanding. I try and give them an update on what's going in my life. I mean, I think COVID, everybody sort of understands that. And then having a family as well now. So that's where that's at right now. I got a new, go ahead.
Well, no, that word buffer that you were saying, me and Chris have been trying to do like web series here and there, and we've been experimenting with different types of shows, different type of web series. And my goal was to always be like a couple months scheduled out.
Yeah.
So like, a big budget, big show, big Hollywood example is Walking Dead. When say season 8 of The Walking Dead's out, they're shooting season 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they take a break, and 6 months later, season 9 comes out.
Yeah.
They probably shoot for 6 months. They're off for 6 months. When they're off for 6 months, by the time they get back to shooting season 10 is when season 9 is releasing. Season 9, episode 1.
Yeah.
Next week is episode 2. And there's that buffer. Now that's that big money, big studio, big Hollywood studio, big television, broadcast television production schedule that they can adhere to. And if an actor gets sick, or if an actor quits, or if an actor tweets something stupid, they can fire them, they can kick them, they can recast them, so on. And they're right smack dab. They're still steady. Now, me, Chris, Durko, a couple of the guys, we had day jobs. We had rent to pay. So it's like a day job, and then at night or on weekends shooting a music video, or we had a technological web series, or we had that technological podcast, or we had the Zombie Squad web series, which like documented our vacations, our trips, our our gigs, everything inside, out, and all around. And it was like, okay, my release schedule will be Tuesdays and Thursdays, and get that scheduled out months in advance. And there was a point where I just had I had episodes scheduled every Tuesday and Thursday for 6 months. But then something would happen, like getting married and going on a honeymoon or getting deployed or something. And then the episodes dry up. And then it's 6 months of nothing.
Yeah.
And so then and that happened during quarantine. And so as I started seeing the end of those episodes, me and Chris, we decided, let's do this podcast and reach out to you and reach out to each other and reach out to everybody else whose shit is drying up. Just talk about the old gigs, talk about what we're doing trapped in our basements, talk about what our plan is. That was the whole idea behind this podcast. And then those episodes started churning up, and then something would happen. And even as simple as you might think producing this is, and technically it is, but shit, I mean, we were supposed to have TAHJ on today. There's a goddamn thunderstorm in Charles County, Maryland, and he's got to go hunker down in the basement. He can't be on Zoom today. Right. So
it's crazy because, I mean, exactly, like, and it's tough to try and stay ahead of that. And then also what happened to me was that, so before COVID, I had a day job. I was a server. And then Bug Out Boys was, when I weekends or whenever I had free time from that. And I also had my violin gigs, my band gigs. When COVID happened, serving went away, and I wanted to still try and, first I wanted to get out of serving completely. I wanted to be fully music, but then I put my shingle out as an editor, a video editor.
Mm-hmm.
And by golly, I started getting clients. And once that started picking up, I have so many clients that I'm editing their content that I never went back to serving after COVID. So now I'm strictly music and editing. And it's one of those things that the editing has become so prolific, other people's, that I barely have time to go. I mean, I can take off whenever I want to because I am my own boss. But at the same time, I'll spend 4 or 6 hours in front of the computer editing, and then I'm like, man, I gotta edit that one Bug Out Boy episode, and all you want to do is walk away from the computer because you've already put a bunch of hours in front of the computer. So it's kind of funny, like the freedom that I thought I was going to have by becoming a freelance editor and a musician has sort of, I have the freedom to go, but then I always am coming back to a lot of work.
Right.
That's paying the bills.
Yeah.
But at least, but it's work that you've created.
It is. I mean, my client base has gone, I had 1 client, and then in the first year I went to 5, and now I'm up to 16 in the second year. So it's growing exponentially, which is great. I love it. And it's providing for my family, and it's great to be my own boss, though it is causing a little bit of difficulties with getting back out there and doing the Bug Out Boys. So I'm still in the lifestyle. I'm still doing those things. It's just getting out there, getting my own content, because it's one of those things. I love Bug Out Boys. It's a passion. I would love it to make me money. But the actual freelance editing and the bands are what's making the money. You kind of have to prioritize that, and it's tricky, but I guess it's one of those adulting things that we gotta do.
Adulting. And going back to like sitting in front of that computer and editing, like I'm good at it, but I freaking hate it. So my goal was to make this podcast at least turnkey. Mm-hmm. Take the live shots, all the graphics are there, all the pictures are there, all the overlays are there, the audio's there, the signal's there, and just hit record, start and stop. Get people, like I wanted the hardest thing to be was getting everybody on Zoom at the same time, and then just hit record, chat for a couple hours, hit stop, upload to YouTube,
Right.
because I want to say like the first 20 or 30 episodes of this podcast was just done having recorded within Zoom, take that video file, put it in Final Cut, duplicate it, crop this, crop that, move this, graphic this, lower thirds, render,
Mhm.
export, compress, and it would take a day and a half for one podcast. Where I was like, I want to be at the level where I'm doing 2 of these a day,
Mhm.
and that's another going back to that buffer, going back to that scheduling thing, not going hand to mouth with each episode, but being able to do 2 a day every other day.
Yeah.
For maybe 3 days a week. That's 6 episodes, but I'm only going to release 4 a week. So now I've got 2 for next week. Then you
Yeah.
start doing that math and you start compounding, that percentage. Then it's like I'm 3 months out.
Yeah. It's a way
And
of budgeting in time that you can take a vacation
yeah,
and not feel like you're going to be pressured once you come back. And I mean,
mm-hmm.
that takes a lot of time and I guess diligence on our own parts as freelancers or as homegrown things that we're trying to do that. Because it's I mean, to me, I get so excited about when I get a Bug Out Boy video done. And I just want to share it. I mean, I just want to share it with the world. And it's like, no, wait,
Yeah.
it's tricky. No one ever tells you about that when you're trying to do video or audio stuff that uh, build yourself a buffer.
Yeah, because if you have something coming out every day for 7 days a week, and then you got nothing for months, and it's like you kind of have to like kind of trick your audience into the anticipation.
Yeah. I watch this one guy. He's a streamer, Stone Mountain 64. He's a video guy. He's a video game streamer, and I think it's insane because he'll go live. He goes live every weekday, and he's usually live for 4 to 7 hours streaming. And then I would say that's on a Wednesday or no, every day. And I think later that week, someone, it's not him, and I think he has another editor, has gone in and made subsequent smaller videos of that stream.
The highlights.
Yeah, highlights or things like that. And we're talking about like they'll do like he'll be down here in this corner, and then when he does a funny expression, they'll blow it up real big, and then it'll go back down.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, like so much content, and you're just cranking this around. I think he has at least one editor besides himself. He has to. I know he has one. He may even have 2 at this point to keep up with that. And sometimes he even is saying like somehow when he's streaming live, I think somehow he's sending that to his editor in real time that he I don't know how he's doing it, but it sounds like sometimes he's able to send stuff to his editor while he's still streaming and to just get that turnaround. And it's nuts. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't care. It doesn't work because I'm not a streamer, but it's just
so what you can do, I mean, technically what you can do is so he's live streaming to YouTube. And then after you're done with your stream, YouTube needs to process, I don't know for how long, maybe 12 hours.
and then you can Facebook Live.
Oh, he's doing that to Facebook Live. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing the YouTube. He's Facebook. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know how.
Yeah,
well,
I don't.
So if they share the login, you can download your video.
That must be what's happening.
And then that person, and so someone needs to be watching it, or someone has to watch it, or unless he's somehow clicking a time code.
Maybe. I mean, there's also like, my buddy Jared, when he does a live stream and he has multiple cameras going, I know that this is when you like broadcast, you can switch from, that's how, you get this really great news channel broadcast. They switch from cameras on the fly. So again, I don't know how they're doing
Jared
it.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Jared No on here, and I do that. I do live streams of like conferences and events and concerts and seminars and whatever. And yeah,
It's cool
so
stuff. It's cool stuff.
but see this guy's streaming his gameplay, so he
Yeah.
needs to have some sort of clicker to a time code to mark a time code, right?
Yes.
But if Jared's directing, Jared could just like, even with this, like we talked about something funny, I could jot down, all right, 30 minutes 53 seconds, and I've done that. Like something's happened on the show, I've had to cut it out, because you can splice things out on YouTube. So I upload this to YouTube, and I don't release, and I can even schedule it for a date in a week, but I'll remember the next day. Once YouTube has processed it, I got to go to minute 21:52 and splice out a minute. I got to go to minute 31:18 and splice out a minute. And you can do that on YouTube in the editor. But he's gaming, so he's got to be able to, like, maybe he has a pedal and he kicks like a time code,
I'm
or
not sure.
he has a clicker. Because let's go to Joe Rogan, for example. Joe Rogan has his 3-hour-long podcast, but then on the same channel are the snippets. Like Joe Rogan talks about Donald Trump's tweet, right? And that's only a 5-minute part of a 3-hour. So maybe his boy Jamie is behind the scenes jotting notes. You see those highlights a week or two after that 3-hour episode came out with him and Elon Musk. You see the highlight from that episode like a week or two later, because Jamie's probably just splicing out sections of it. Probably
what his editor is doing.
Who's got time for editors, man? Who's got money for editors?
I mean, clearly he does. I mean, because he at least has one, if not two, other editors that are doing this. Because he was talking about that when he was doing it solo. He was just constantly, and he said he got to the point where he's like, I need to make enough money to pay for an editor, because I'm not spending any time with his family. He's like, I'm either gaming or editing. That's it. But I mean, he's got a ton of supporters on Facebook, with the little star things or whatever. But it's taken him a while to build it. And that's, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
It's just like, you could nowadays, this whole YouTube thing, social media marketing, viral video is a thing like that. I don't know if it's being taught in film schools, but couldn't you sign off on a couple of credits to a film student editor for like an independent study?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Or an internship. You'd probably get away with it.
An internship would probably be the best option, to get that person some experience. And
it would probably be an independent study at this point, where YouTube and where like podcasting is. It could be an internship, but I've done, like, for example, at Towson specifically, I did a 15-minute short film as an independent study, which got me 3 credits. And you can only do so many independent studies. But every semester I could just reach out to Towson. Hey, look, I'm looking for an editor. I'll give you credit on an independent study. You talk to your professor, you talk to the dean of the film department. And you just tell me how many credits you're able to get, how many hours do you need. I've got shit for you to cut. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at this point, we're about 1.5 years into Zombie SquadCAST. So, I mean, trying to have somebody go back to episode 1 and look for a highlight. Yeah. And there's a lot of times me and Chris are just sitting here. I don't think there could be some highlights. But I think, with some of these guests, I mean, we start getting, and having some really good conversations, there probably could be some highlight potential there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I know, like, I've listened to the Joe Rogan Experience, and like, I just want to hear like his perspective on, like, say, a certain fighter, because that's what Joe Rogan.
And they do that.
Joe Rogan is very knowledgeable.
Oh yeah.
On different mixed martial art fighters.
Kicks.
And to
touch upon that, the Joe Rogan Experience has his MMA episodes, specific MMA episodes, and he'll have a former fighter and he'll have a fellow commentator and there's always 3 of them doing their MMA episode.
Like Brendan Schwab was on there a lot,
Right.
and they talk about they talk about like BJ Penn, you know, was like one of the episodes, and they would just, you know, talk about him for about 15 or 20 minutes or so. But, you know, if all I do is go on YouTube and click, you know, Joe Rogan, BJ Penn, you know, that episode comes up with Brandon Schwab, and that's what they're talking about on that episode. So I think we could definitely pull that off and take, you know, some of the
Who's going to do that?
Some of the guests.
Someone has to do that
and cut that off.
Who's going to go back and watch all these episodes? I mean, all these episodes range from 45 minutes. I think I've had 2-hour episodes. Now that we're doing this 4-way roundtable thing, right? With 4 guests. I mean, the last time we did it with Ali and Rob and you and me.
Yeah.
Ryan and Ali, Ryan Scott Thomas, Ali Chef, and then the 2 of us. That was a good 2 hours. That was a solid 2-hour episode. But I don't know when Joe Rogan started with the highlights. It probably wasn't until like episode 500 or 600 when he got his buddy Jamie to co-produce his show with him, because the show started becoming a hit. But like with this gaming streamer Johnny's talking about, when did he start getting those highlights? When did those start coming out? It wasn't from episode 1. It had
most likely not.
Yeah. So
I mean
that's something we could start looking into now.
You also got that thing. I don't know if you've seen it. That seen some maybe YouTube, but I've definitely seen some videos where on the track bar or the scroll bar, they'll have like little bars, and if you put your mouse over them, it'll say, it'll just say the Trump tweet. So you know, like this is where. So if you're watching a 2-hour or 4-hour long podcast, but you really want to know about the Trump tweet or or the fighting or COVID or whatever, you can hover over it and you're like, oh, chapters. Yeah, they're like chapters.
Who's gonna go back? So now who's gonna go back? Who's gonna be sectioning off the podcast? So that's a whole nother thing now, is the chapters. You're absolutely right.
I've seen that. I think that's kind of cool, because you'll want to watch this video, but you don't want to have to scroll through all 2 hours of it to find that moment. And so there's just a little little bar that if you hover over it, it says, you know, chapter 1 or whatever. And I think that's pretty cool. That might be a little bit easier because, like you said, you can just like look down and be like, all right, at you know, 1:53 or whatever time mark, this is when because you're like, all right, well guys, let's talk about the industry right now, being a basement podcaster, and you look and you tap that, you know, or make a note of it, so that when people look at this video, they know like, oh, this is when these guys start talking about this, because you're more or less, you're like the director, you're the one guiding ish.
Yeah. Well, for this, hell, I'm like the host, the producer, the director.
Yeah, you're everything.
The live editor,
star. You're the star.
I'm trying to book guests. I got to send out reminders the day before we guests. I gotta spam the hell out of LinkedIn to get new guests. Then I got to go back and try to schedule previous guests for the 4-way roundtable. I ain't got time for that. I gotta get a student from Towson to be like.
That's right. I think Jared does that too. I think with over at the State Theater that he has, I think he either gets students from Towson or from Harford County Community College.
Yeah. That
he'll bring them in for internships, for whether it be broadcast or editing or even audio, because he's got an audio suite over there. So I think that's how he kind of gets around cranking out all that content as quickly as he can.
That's gonna have to be it. I'm just gonna have to do that.
Yeah, I've been with my own freelance editing. I'm thinking like, at what point do I start looking for a second editor for my company? And because of just how many hours I'm spending in front of the computer and the amount, like where is that level of clients to, I guess, time in front of a computer or pay scale that you're like, okay, I can afford that second editor. So then you can produce more faster, and then subsequently you'll probably get more client, like
And then
figuring.
you got to hire a third, and you got to hire a fourth.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're not the editor. You're like, you're the CEO.
Well, that's that.
You're like subcontracting work.
Right. Well, I mean, at that point, with
You're
the way,
subbing out work at that point.
but they would all be underneath my brand of this is my editing company, so it's my production company. And ultimately, if you think about it, as this is sort of like fell into my lap by putting out my low shingle, that is the ultimate goal, because you don't want to. I mean, I'll still always edit, but I don't want to edit 8 hours a day every day.
Yeah.
If I can do 4 or 2 every other day while my other editors are doing work, they're getting paid, but then I'm not getting paid. I mean, that's the ultimate sort of goal, because I'm even with my music, I've been very fortunate that I have a gig, if not 2 or 3 gigs every weekend of every month, and I'm already getting booked for next year. But then I just kind of sat down and I thought to myself, well, I'll never be a Rolling Stone. Whereas, he does 1 gig, or he does a few gigs, the Rolling Stones, and they make tons of money from a show, and so they don't have to do a lot of them. And but do I want to be a 58, or they're now up in their 60s and 70s now, old guy in a bar playing with my guitarist or with my whole band every weekend? Do I want to be that? And the answer is no. I want to be able to have my weekends to spend with friends and with family. So how do I accomplish that? And what's my retirement plan as being a professional musician?
Right.
Subsequently, I've started creating the editing, whether it be Bug Out Boys or also being a freelancer. So now, how do I make that my retirement plan from music? And then subsequently, how do I make that retirement plan from editing, that I am the CEO, like you said, Chris? I am the guy that I got to check in on my employees and make sure they're doing well and they're doing right. But now I have that freedom to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
As you growing.
I mean, and that's the overall goal for everybody, is to have a healthy retirement. That's the ultimate goal. Because a lot of people spend their entire lives just working and being overworked, and then so by the time they can actually enjoy retirement, it's like some of it is short lived. Like I know guys that retired, and died 5 years later after they retired. You want to enjoy a healthy, long retirement. While you're still healthy. Like you don't want to be, say you're 70 years old and you just retired.
Just retiring.
And say you've been working since you were 18 years old. That's more than half your life that you've been working.
Mm-hmm.
And then you finally get a chance to retire at 70.
Exactly. And then how much time have you missed from family or friends, or you've really wanted to see travel? You really wanted to travel, and now you can't climb Mount Kilimanjaro or Mount Fuji because you just don't have the body to do it anymore.
Right.
So that's where I'm looking at my music and my editing, and as this progresses forward, and like you guys are saying, with your podcasts and stuff like that, you want to still be involved in them. You still want to do them, but how can you expand on it so you're not stressing out about the episodes, and then also you're still being able to bring in an income while still being able to enjoy life down the road.
Yeah. And touching upon what you said earlier, COVID gave you the opportunity to do this, that, and the other thing. And going in with me, me and Chris, we had gig after gig. I mean, Chris was, full-time DC Fire, but there was a bunch of acting gigs I got him on. But for me, it was
Nice.
just acting gig after AV gig after live streaming gig, going to New Orleans, going to Florida, or, acting gig. It was just gig after gig after gig. But we had, some of our web series that we shot on a day off. And then it's like, when the hell am I going to get around to editing this?
Hmm.
But it had always been my goal ever since I met Melissa. I said, okay, I'm at that stage now where I'm a professional actor. I'm a professional full-time freelancer. I'm getting the film gigs. I'm getting the commercials. I'm getting the acting gigs. I'm getting the live streaming gigs on location, live streaming gigs going here and there and setting up remote cameras and streaming it out and blah, blah, blah. But I want to have that set up. I want a studio in my basement. I always had the podcast. Me and Chris failed at this twice before. I've always had this idea to keep it going, have it set up in my basement, have a couple of cool guests over, maybe two people over a week, and sit on a couch and like do a podcast or whatever. COVID gave me that opportunity to not only finish everything I had in the can and on the hard drives, but to set this up in the way that it's set up now and do this and do all those live streaming gigs. They're not on location anymore. They're kind of either hybrid or they're just all remote. All these doctors or tax experts or whatever, legal experts coming on Zoom, and we're doing that same conference. It's not at the Washington Conference Center anymore. It's not at the Baltimore Marriott anymore. It's just on Zoom. But now that I have that technical expertise, must have been some hindsight, must have been some, sixth sense pre-COVID to start getting that technical expertise, that skill set, and that setup, that physical setup in the basement, because I knew I was going to want to spend more time at home. I knew we were going to have kids, and come COVID, hands on with the kid. Even when I'm doing a live stream that I'm not on camera, I'd just have him on the lap. I'd have him in that little chest harness, and he just
I'm about to be there with you. I got a wee Baron on the way, so it's going to be the same thing. Like, right here, I'm editing.
Yeah, I had him on that chest harness, that
Yeah.
satchel that you wrap. It's like it's like not a backpack, but like a front pack.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I'm sitting here like live streaming, taking shots or editing. And
Yeah.
it was, and now he might be running around in the basement. And if I'm editing or if I'm writing, and my next goal is to get some screenplays out there and start writing. And if I can get a couple screenplays produced, my plan is to maybe act in it or maybe direct it. But as the kids grow older, it just might just be spitting screenplays out from the basement. That's kind of not my next goal, but the goal after that.
I mean, I sounds like you as well as myself are some of the few people that actually benefited from COVID. I mean, there's a ton of people who didn't, but I was able to go fully freelance.
Yeah.
It gave me that mind to like, hey, you're not bad at video editing. You've been doing Bug Out Boys for a couple of years now. Put Shingo out, and now things have turned around in a good way for me. And then it sounds like for you, it gave you that opportunity. So it's definitely shows like people that took a lemon and they made lemonade.
Made lemon slushies.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
a little bit of vodka in there.
Yeah. And I know Chris, Chris churned out track after track after track. Chris was even me and Chris were experimenting with live streaming him DJing. And there's a lot of, and I want to continue doing that. There's a lot to continue with that, and there's a lot to fix on that. But it was just experiment after experiment. I mean, we're putting something out, and that's something that a lot of folks are afraid to do, is just put something out there. I mean,
it's put it out there, and it's
technical
also
difficulty.
Yeah,
technical difficulty, and so okay. The joke is, I would have a sorry for the technical difficulties thing, and some goofy music and some funny technical difficulty graphics with it. And then
our whole show was based on that sometimes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That's
Chris,
what, I mean, I've never done live stuff. I wouldn't even know where to begin with it. I always find it pretty cool that people are doing stuff live. you know, with multiple cameras or just one camera, and you're relying on signals, whether they be Wi-Fi or LAN.
Like I did a live comedy show, which was pretty cool. Like like when COVID first happened,
Mhm.
I was like, you know, set it up in my studio and had a background and just like a stand up mic, you know.
I mean, that's super tough because you're basing a lot of your jokes or how people are laughing, if they, because you can't hear them laugh.
Right.
You
yeah,
just, so I mean, for comedians, I mean, as a musician during COVID, we did a couple basement sessions where we played in the basement, and we had our, like, we did the Facebook Live, so people were able to like comment and chat, and you could see
yeah,
people like put in requests and stuff like that. But as a musician, you're just playing. You're not really, I mean, I do feed off of the audience when I'm there, but it's you just play and you finish a song, you go to the next song. But a comedian, I always thought like, wow, like you tell that joke and there's no roaring of laughter to tell you that you hit your mark and continue with this vein of jokes, or did it fall flat and you need to change? Like it's I mean, that was, I mean, super awesome that you did that. I mean, how did it
So
play
so
out?
so how I started this idea was, you know, I had to get the setup first and get the right, you know, I wanted to make it as professional as possible.
Mhm.
You know, good lighting, good audio. So I had a speaker, you know, a powered speaker is what I was operating on. You know, just like I was at a live show, you know, my microphone was coming out of the speaker that was self powered. So make sure I had the background set up. Make sure I had, um, you know, a good shot too, as setting up the camera. I also had a steady cam to make sure I got a really good shot with that. So then, like, I came up with a script, you know, some jokes that I've been working on in the past, and then I also like held up a sign just to kind of like an icebreaker. Like this show has been canceled, you know, due to COVID-19. You know, I held up a whiteboard and I did it with a magic marker. And so I held up that at first, and then I came out. It was like "Psycho Boo Boo," and then like I started going on with my show, you know. And then like I broadcasted it live on IG Live,
Yeah, it was
and
IG Live.
I think we streamed on some other platforms. But then I promoted it. I did like a TikTok video on to promote this thing, and kind of got like the crowd, you know, hyped up about it because it was something brand new. You know, nobody was doing this live show,
I mean, it's
like
tough.
this live comedy show virtually. Like it was
On
some,
IG Live.
it was something brand new that nobody was used to because everything was shut down. The comedy shows were shut down. So I was doing this straight inside of my residence. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then like a lot of my friends tuned in and different people and coworkers and everybody that I promoted the video to. So like Glenn kind of critiqued me and said, "Hey, here's the things that have popped, you know, from your show. Here's all the because you could go back and look at it."
Well, me and Melissa, my wife, we watched him, and if I laughed at something, I would take a note of it. If she laughed at something, she would take a note of it. So we had no notes, but no, I'm just fucking with you. We had a number of notes, you know, because there was a bunch of funny stuff. But then, you know, I kind of took a note of what people were commenting on, and there was a couple of notes based on that, and that's tricky. And so the beauty of YouTube. So if you know, in the future, if we were to do this to YouTube live, you know, do a comedy show live on YouTube, and if it's live, people will comment live, and then you can go back and you can watch it, and you'll see those comments as they came in minute of when it was truly live.
Kind of like Facebook Live does that too.
And I think Facebook Live does that too.
Yeah.
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 And that's where you can go back, but then who's got time for that? That's why you got to have that assistant. You got to have that editor or that assistant to pull all the funny jokes out of the whole set, or pull the highlights, or pull whatever, you know. but you know, just for the sake of it, like you know, Gabriel, I think was 3 months old. He was still in the bassinet. Me and the wife sat down, had a cocktail, and like watched your show. And then when that ended, you know, we just watched something else on Netflix. But we watched your show on IG, and I just sat there with a notepad, shit that I thought was funny, shit that she thought was funny.
But the only thing that I thought about the show, like doing it that way, is that the camera was just picking up the audio. You know, it wasn't
Yeah.
like as crisp as like going to like a live show. You know, because you have
Ears.
you know
You have
right
ears.
there. And it's not picking up through a camera mic. You know
Right. So that was the trick. That was the
So-
trick was the audio signal because
But now, like I upgraded my equipment. So since then,
Yeah.
So I have like a boom mic attached to my iPhone now. That's like crisper audio. I was like, how can I get this better the next time? And I also use it for. It's right here. I'll show it to you. So this microphone right here is a boom mic.
Is it a Rode? Oh no, okay.
So you put the iPhone in here in this slot right here, and then you hook it in, just like
Yeah.
that. You know.
I mean, it's crazy what you can do with phones, but like I kind of feel that there needs to be some sort of, especially with like, you know, your vloggers and, you know, your live stuff, that as nice as phones are, because I get a lot of content to edit that are phones.
Mhm.
What bothers the heck out of me is that someone will have a couple of phones running, so you get your multiple angles, and that's great and dandy. Now, mind you, this is not live; they're just recording.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can, or if they just don't take the time. I'd have to research. First of all, if they're different models of cameras, that's a pain. And then also, they don't go in, and cameras, you know, even this guy right here that I'm using, I noticed yours as well, Chris. Um, the white balance is constantly changing.
flickering. Yeah.
And yeah, it's either flickering or, you know, it's making it a little bit warm, it's making it a little bit cool because, you know, the sun came out, or because whatever is in frame is a little dark, and all those things are adjusting. So when you're switching from different angles or whatever, or even if you're on this one shot and all of a sudden it goes really cyan for whatever reason, or magenta, it's very annoying because I don't know. Again, I haven't researched if you could go into an iPhone and then, you know, have it and then click a button and that's your white balance, and now that's it. It never auto adjusts, and then this is your f-stop, and it
Yeah.
never adjusts. I think it'd be really awesome, and I don't know if anybody would ever do it, is have a camera that has the manual adjustments. Now, I'm not saying like a red, like that level, but like something in between that has the professional camera adjustments, like your f-stops and your white balance and things like that, but has the live streaming capability. Because the reason everybody's using these phones is because they have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and of course cellular signal connected to them. So they're immediately able to transmit strong signals to the net. Well, if you had a really nice mirrorless camera, I don't know, like a Rebel or something like that, I don't know, that has the same Bluetooth wireless phone capabilities, the same transmitting capabilities, you could still put a really good, it would have a way better input for your microphones. Not just that quarter inch, or not, that's like probably a 16th inch jack or whatever. And the subsequent like lighting. So you could do these shots with a really good lens with and not have the problems of constantly having, you know, your white balance and your color changing in these shots. I think if a company would go that route, not as expensive as a red, obviously, but I would love to see that, because it just, as an editor, having that constant change is difficult when you're cutting from scene to scene.
Mhm.
Sorry, I went off on the topic. I just
No, yeah.
your screen.
mean,
I keep on seeing your screen, Chris, and it's like going. Like it'll be perfect, and then I don't know what you have running in the background that's switching your temperatures. Even I just saw mine do it right now, and it's like, oh, just stop it. Stop it.
My alarm keeps going off. You know, that's another thing. You got to like turn off your alarms and make sure your show's professional. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like put your phone on silent during the shoots. Yeah. So, you know, I think we got Taj that came back. Let me see if I.
Did he get back? Did he survive the tornado?
Let's see. I don't know if you can hear me, but. Or maybe he's just stuck in the Zoom call because he had to bounce.
Yeah, I mean, his
thunder,
little picture up there never left.
Oh, it never left. All right,
Nah.
so he's probably hunkering down in the basement.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep him safe. Well, listen, yeah, man, guys. At this point, this is like the little fun part. This is a little additional thing that I like to do on the show. So bear with me 1 second. Let me see if I got hunt down all these because everybody uses different freaking. Some people use Facebook Messenger. Some people use LinkedIn Messenger. Some people use emails.
Hey, you said email, so I gave you.
Oh, did you email? Okay, great.
Yeah, you said send me an email, so I was like, all right, I'll send you an email because I was thinking about like I'll just use Messenger, but nope, you said email. I gave you an email.
Yep.
I follow directions.
Awesome. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so I'll do the best. I'll try to sort these out the best I can. Let's see here. You know, it's always like a cop. I always end up with a cop. All right, you know, this is what we'll do. All right, so I got a character here, a man in his 60s, overweight due to good living. He is a leader in a state senate, loves to eat and drink, is well respected by the press, fellow legislators, all of whom consider him to be their intellectual inferior. His only real friends are well-heeled lobbyists. All right, so that's a character. And we got a location is Alaska. So maybe he's like an Alaskan senator. Let's see, is that a look? And then object. What the fuck? And see, we're getting too close to.
I hope I did it right.
Oh yeah, no, you did it right. You did it perfect. But I have other ones.
Oh yeah. I'm sure you have at least 3 other ones.
Yeah.
One from Taj and one from Chris.
Yeah.
And mine.
I didn't get one from Chris, so I'm making up. For Chris.
Yeah, I've been thinking about a lot of I love heist movies, so that's one of the things I've been.
I knew your conflict was going to be that heist. I just knew it because that heist was in the news.
Now that brings me up, man, I wanted to talk to you about this yesterday. You know, what's your all-time favorite heist movie?
Me or Johnny?
Both of you guys. Your all-time favorite heist movie.
Heist movie.
I mean, I think you know what mine is. It's Heat with De Niro and Pacino. It's one of the greatest heist movies ever made. One of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. But that's just me.
I know it's hard to think about all the different movies that's been like your cat burglars and your car thieves and your bank robbers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one heist movie that I know that I've watched repeatedly, and it's partially because I'm a car nut, was Gone in 60 Seconds.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean,
the Nick Cage one or the original?
The Nick Cage one. That's the one that I never saw the original. I think I liked it just because I love the cars. The music was fun. I am a Nick Cage fan, whether he goes crazy or not. Yeah, I just kind of liked that idea. It wasn't your heist people were like cool, down to earth, and it was different. You weren't robbing a bank or hacking into a system. You're boosting cars, and I thought that was I thought that was that probably be the one that I've definitely watched repeatedly. There's some other ones that pop in the mind that are fun, but I know that I watched Gone 60 Seconds multiple times.
Okay. So since I know Chris is so adamant about these heists, we'll make our heist movie. It's a 60-year-old senator, right? He thinks everyone below him is his inferior. He's a 60-year-old senator in Alaska. So an Alaskan heist that deals with a tomahawk. We'll go with that tomahawk idea. like an ancient tomahawk. I mean, did the
I thought you were talking about like a tomahawk missile.
Okay.
like heist in a tomahawk
Johnny,
missile.
you were talking about like a tomahawk.
Yeah,
right?
I was talking about the actual handheld.
And they had those in Alaska. The Eskimos use tomahawks.
I don't know if no. I mean the Athabascans and the Tlinkits, the different Native Americans that were up there. I don't know if they had tomahawks as we think of them. They had the ulu, which is one of their more ancient tools that they had. But I mean, just because it's in Alaska doesn't mean it has to be an Alaskan tomahawk. It could be from if you're
Somehow
going with
got there.
if you I mean right, it could be from anywhere in America, and it's just a really valued tomahawk that has somehow ended up in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when you said the tomahawk. You know, it has a significant value. You know,
Yeah.
where it would be appealing for somebody to try to steal it.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, the last Mohicans tomahawk, something of a archaeological historical value, which is actually kind of interesting that the tomahawks that we think of today are actually because of the sailors that first came over.
And they brought something from a different. They brought it over from not America or something.
So the Native Americans had tomahawks, but what they called a tomahawk, but it was a stick with a stone in it.
Mm-hmm.
The tomahawk that we think of now with your peace pipes and stuff like that with the metal axe head and the shaft going through it, that came because if you look at a ship boarding axe, that sailor, like every sailor had these because they were used to cut lines when your sails were falling off the side and to board ships. They have the same beard and the spike on the end because they were used for boarding parties and also a utility tool. Well, you had these sailors that were coming to the new land, the new world, and they were meeting the Native Americans. And the Native Americans hadn't really gotten into steel yet or iron. It was a tool to them, to the sailors, that's like, I don't know, this thing's cheap. This thing's worth nothing to me. And I give it to a Native American and you give me like 80 pelts of beaver fur. That's worth a lot. So that's how that transition from what we think of a tomahawk, with the Patriot and with the movie Last of the Mohicans, that's how that came about. It was the trading of sailors with their boarding axes to the Native Americans that created the tomahawk that we think of now. A little history lesson right there.
Oh, thank you. No, that's great, man.
It is crazy how, you talk about the tomahawk now, they have all these axe throwing places that you can go and throw axes.
Oh, those are so much fun.
So I think that's pretty cool that
there's so much. Highly recommend if you haven't gone to one. They're so much fun. That first time that you sink that hatchet or tomahawk, whatever they're offering at their the first time you do it, you're just you just feel all of that is warrior and manly and.
Yeah, I did it at the Renaissance Festival in Maryland.
Well, that's the one where you have to wear the helmet, right? You do both hands over top, right?
I didn't have to wear a helmet.
Oh, okay.
I just did it straight up.
Gotcha. Because the one up here in Harford County, Krabby Axe, you can just throw one-handed if you want, and it's a lot. It's so much fun. So we got the senator.
So we got a 60-year-old senator in Alaska,
Okay.
and there's a heist that surrounds an ancient tomahawk and an ancient Bible that's in a different language.
In an ancient Bible and an ancient tomahawk.
Like these two artifacts, a
Okay.
tomahawk, and I don't know. So like, there's significance. Maybe it's like proof that Mormonism is a fraud or something. I don't know. I don't want to dump on Mormons, but
Right.
but who doesn't?
I don't know. I mean, the Bible could be.
But
I mean,
it's
if
in
you
a different
connect.
language. It's like in Sanskrit or it's in Latin or something.
Mhm.
And it's a more ancient Bible. It's because maybe the scheme is it says something different than the New King James version, and like there's discrepancies, and it
The book could be probably made out of gold. I don't know.
Or the cover is made out of
The
gold.
cover, yeah, the covering would be made out of gold.
but it's hidden. It's like locked away in some sort of military installation. The senator's in charge of protecting it, and there's another group trying to steal it.
Well, I don't know. If you say that the senator is this old guy and he thinks everybody's lower than him, and just, it might be cliche, but he's a politician. He's probably the one trying to steal it, not the one trying to protect it.
Well, he's trying to protect it because has control over it. Maybe that's
Oh,
what's
he
giving
already
him his
owns it.
power.
He already owns it.
Maybe that's what gives him his power, like gives him his authority.
Well,
if we're playing with mystical and supernatural stuff here.
yeah. I mean, if you're doing mystical, then
Yeah,
maybe
we can do whatever.
So I guess the first thing is the senator the antagonist? Is he being stolen from, or is he the protagonist trying to get it from somebody
Isn't
else?
the senator always the bad guy?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I mean, typically the politician is typically the bad guy. I can't really think of.
Wouldn't that be the goof though? Like this 60-year-old white senator who's overweight and comes off like a jerk is actually protecting this stuff from like outside forces. Now there's this group of younger misfits that want to steal it because they don't truly understand. Like there could be a war with the gods and goddesses a lot. You ever seen Cabin in the Woods, where like this group, you thought that group was bad, and really they were running this whole thing to keep the gods and goddesses, the Titans.
Oh yeah, that was such a fun movie. Yeah.
And it's like, were they really the bad guys, or were they like just unfortunately they had to sacrifice some kids to keep these Titans?
What was it? The jock, the whore, the intellectual or something. Yeah, they had to have these, and they were saying it's every year it's getting harder to find these certain archetypes
because the 80s are over. Because the 80s
right.
and 90s are over, and it's like
right.
2010s. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, so if this guy is overweight, though, he's not gonna be the one actively stealing it.
No.
And he's also not going to be the one actively protecting it, because
he's in charge of protecting it, though. He's probably running the facility. So he's running a facility, and let's add, because I actually had this on here, I think from Chris actually a while ago. The gods are all gathered for the ultimate battle, the goddesses versus the gods. And then there's a group of misfit thieves, anarchists that want to steal these artifacts. And so that they're not hidden. They like, it's this ancient tomahawk that this this tribe wants back. And it's this ancient Bible that this group in Italy maybe wants back, and they're like, we're going to steal it. Senator's like, can't let that happen. The first half they're trying to steal it, and then the second half you realize what these artifacts are protecting us from, like some sort of gods and goddesses battle.
What if so the tomahawk would naturally represent more of your Native American, Mother Earth idea of supernatural beings, and then the Bible would represent your more Christian. So I mean, your Christianity. If it's a Bible, not a Quran, or if it's a Bible, that's going to represent your Christian gods, or God. There's only one.
That we know
I
of.
was Yeah, that we know of. That was stereotypically using in script writing. I was also thinking like, so that's maybe these are connected in that this keeps a balance between Mother Earth. I was also thinking that what if the tomahawk is a key to unlocking the Bible?
There's an actual key, like a physical key.
Yeah, like the tomahawk, either writing on it, like there could be writing on the heft or the shaft, or on
So it's a code. It's the decipher code
could
for.
be, or like literally you put the beard of the bladed part of the tomahawk into like the spine of the Bible, and that's what unlocks it. Like you don't even the only person that know what's in the Bible is, let's say, the senator, and because of that, um, he's able to keep his power or keep the peace.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
And then maybe at that way it's showing you that both the that there's a connection between your Mother Earth, so to speak, and God. Like maybe they're all one, but finding out that they're all one would cause calamity for some reason, or I don't know. I was just spitballing.
Yeah. And so okay, so it's a physical key, but then there's coding, maybe on the blade, maybe on the handle, that deciphers some passages.
Mhm.
And then once these misfits get in there, and like that old saying, I'm gonna send you to a, there's this old saying in the military, you keep screwing up, and I'm gonna send you to some base in the middle of Alaska, operating a radio tower or something. And then that's what turns out. It's like the most important job, and you're stuck on this post, guarding this safe, this vault with these two items in it. No one's figured out how they connect.
Ooh, what if the tomahawk has a code on it or whatever that helps decipher passages that's in the Bible that lead you to something very powerful, like the Ark of the Covenant, or maybe leads you to I don't want to really go national treasure, but like a
That's
huge
fine. Let's do that.
boon of. What'd you say, Chris?
No, that's what I was thinking of. That's the first thing that came to my mind was like national treasure, especially when they're like going through booby traps and so forth.
Well, that could be that could be a sequel, is like something like that. But like this whole movie is designed around
The heist.
this heist. Like the first half of this movie is this heist. Then the second half is like coming to the realization that he's not this evil senator. He's like a guardian. He read it. It probably, messed with his mind a little bit. Now he's stuck being this guardian. He's not just some white collared, fat cat on Capitol Hill. Like he's a little bit more than that. And he's been doing it for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been sitting here guarding this thing.
Well, he's not the one guarding it up in Alaska, but he's maybe keeping that installation fairly secret.
Yeah. He's guarding it. So maybe he's guarding it. Right. Of course. So he's a senator. So obviously he has to go to the House and like appear there and ask and work all this, that, and the other thing. And everything that he's been trying to work on at this House and at the Capitol inadvertently is keeping this place secret and funded.
Right.
Right.
So that's why you said, like, did you say something like that with the lobbyists? He's good with some lobbyists or whatever. Like,
yep.
So maybe that's why he's not having them put a pipeline in a certain area or drilling in a certain area in Alaska, because it's right by the installation that he doesn't want to be.
Or vice versa. If it's reverse psychology. So he is doing that so that there's workers there and there's infrastructure there, and people aren't paying attention
Right.
to this underground vault. They're paying attention to the oil
pipeline.
refinery. They're
Right.
paying attention to the refinery and the jobs and the infrastructure and the homes and you know, like when you put infrastructure there, then you build homes.
And then he can make money that he can fund into continuing to keep this
And
installation
it's
secret.
going back into the installation.
Yeah, that could be
And
some.
then like, you know, these misfits, it could be locals, it could be Alaskan locals, you know, Eskimo and white alike
Well, it could be
or whatever.
it could be, so if we go off of this, you know, he's trying to put this pipeline in or this oil refinery or something like that in Alaska, and it's funding, maybe these are eco-terrorists or not necessarily terrorists, but they are trying to stop this. And then by trying to stop it, they stumble upon this this installation or this vault, and then curiosity gets the better. Maybe, I don't know. Curiosity gets the better of them.
And these kids are smart.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a while.
The kids are, these misfits, these eco-terrorists are smart, and they're the ones that are able to figure out the how to unlock it.
Yeah.
Like maybe he wasn't able to. Like maybe the senator wasn't able to, but they are.
Yeah.
And then they unleash the gods or goddesses or the powers that this thing is.
And actually, and what you could have is that whoever the guy who's been sent to Alaska because he's, you know, this is his job because he's fucked up enough in the military that he's been sent there, and so he's not the guy that you would pick out to be a hero. Maybe he's the one that after the misfits, you know, take this thing and figure it out, and it starts causing calamity of some sort, or it's a lot of treasure or so whatever. He's the one that is the main person, either trying to stop them or track them down. You could even go as far as killing off the senator because he's old and 60 and fat, that that switches, that, you know, he could get knocked out at the end. And
so who did you say was the
so the guard, the guard that's been,
there's a guard that's been there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have somebody manning this vault, this installation that you're gonna have the eyes on. You're not gonna rely on
a team of guards. And
maybe,
but he's the lead.
But he's like,
he's the lead guard.
He's the lead, and you can either go with the stereotypical, he's the bad apple that turns good, or you could go with he's never done. He's not the. He's what's the word that we're looking for?
And this guy's a little bit younger, right? Like 40.
Yeah, I mean, he could be 40, or he could even be, you know, super young, that he has just been a total screw up geek guy, and throughout the he starts falling into his own. Because if you just make him a this sort of jerk badass right from the beginning, people are going to be like, well, he's the one that's going to save the day. But if you kind of like slip him in there as being more of a, I don't know, more of a nerd or something like that, kind of like a coming of age, so to speak, that, I don't know, maybe.
So let's cast him. What do you think the 60-year-old senator should be? 60, slightly overweight to overweight? What do you got, Chris? Casting. Let's cast. I know you know all these actors.
60-year-old guy, overweight.
Slightly overweight to overweight. Yeah.
You can definitely do a fat suit like Ron Grossman when Tom Cruise is Ron Grossman. So you don't even have to really worry about actually.
I mean, let's say John Travolta. That would be perfect.
John Travolta as the senator?
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay. Right.
He looks slimy enough, and he can definitely get pudgy.
He is always in shape. That dude is always in shape, but he would look great in a fat suit.
Yeah.
And then our guard.
So you're, except for it's kind of been the guy from the new series, Jack Ryan.
Krasinski.
Yeah, Krasinski maybe. Either A, figures out how to use the Tomahawk and the Bible, and figures out what it is to use it either for nefarious reasons, or you just have them just be dim-witted and they don't know they're opening up the gates to the apocalypse.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, I'm not saying all eco-terrorists are dim-witted, but
That's what I'm saying. If you have someone like, maybe some of them are or whatnot, but you got that one that is giving Travolta and Krasinski a run for their money of constantly like playing catch up and I don't know, you'd have to have a decent villain, kind of like how you had Nick Cage versus Sean Bean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't even have to be like super evil. Like Sean Bean in at least in National Treasure, he wasn't like super evil. He was just a guy that wanted.
He was just doing the same thing Nick Cage was, just
right.
A little bit rougher.
Yeah, a little bit rougher, a little bit more cutthroat. So obviously, if this guy is leader of an eco-terrorist, he's going to be a little bit more shady, a little bit more cutthroat. So find someone that you kind of want to like who doesn't like Sean Bean,
Right.
but has the ability to just be a little bit darker or edgier.
Absolutely.
Or he gets corrupted by what he reads in the Bible.
Could be. I mean, it could be like it could be a lot like the Holy Grail, the Last Crusade, the Holy Grail. If you read some of these passages, it's gonna like expose your true nature. And so, you know, Travolta may have read it and he locked it up. And truly, he was a good guy. And he did a lot of lobbying, but he was truly a good guy. And maybe Krasinski reads it, but one of these eco-terrorists reads it, and it drives one of them mad and makes them. But by reading it, Krasinski's true nature is exposed as a good guy, or something like that. I don't know. Taj. Well, listen, guys, this was fun. This was awesome. Taj, I'm so glad you're safe. You had to hunker down into the storm shelter.
Yeah.
Into the bunker.
down in the bunker. Well, listen, Taj, I'm glad you came back. We're just about that time, but
No problem.
But it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
We'll have you back on.
Yeah,
But how are things? So are you Taj, real quick, you back on set? Are you working?
I'm trying to get back on set now. Well, there's a HBO show with I think John Bernthal coming to Baltimore, where they're filming in Baltimore right now.
We Own the City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get an extra thing on that to see if I can get a PA gig or something out of that as well.
Okay.
And a few other things. They're filming some stuff in DC soon that I'm also got my eye on. So yeah, I'm trying to get out there. Otherwise, yeah, AV stuff. I'm working a outdoor film like screening next week, I think. So
Hell yeah.
that'll be fun.
Well, hey Taj, don't worry about it, man. We'll have you back on, man. I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad no structural damage or personal bodily harm over there, man. So
it sounded fun. Sounded fun that when I came in.
Crazy movie.
Just experimenting with some stuff. Well, guys, it was a blast having you on, and we're just about at that time. So everybody's socials, links, and plugs will be in the description below. Bug Out Boys, We Own the City, Zombie Squad, 211, deadonpictures.com. Guys, don't go anywhere, and we'll chat a little bit off.